Good afternoon and welcome to week 6. If you're watching this video after Thanksgiving break, I hope you had a wonderful break. If you're watching it before, I am hopeful that you are going to get a wonderful break. But as we roll into this season, this is really a season about giving. It's really a season about reflection and really being grateful for those that are around us, those that have passed, those that we're fortunate enough to be with. So just take a few moments, maybe not every day, but if you can, that would be great, just to reflect and to really give blessings for what we have around us. So as we move forward this week, we're going to learn a little bit about writing a grant. The reason why this is so important is because technology, as we know, can be a little expensive at times. And when we look at school budgets and when we look at sometimes site allocation of budgets, there's not always enough money to disseminate for some of the things that we really want to do. So my first caveat of that is always look for open source materials, right? So always look for things that are free on the internet. Always look for the free versions if you can. The other thing to keep in mind is to always work with your site team. In terms of your administration, if you are thinking about doing something or you have a thought or you have an idea, always work with them first because sometimes there are limitations at your school site or within your district in terms of the types of technology that you can do or the types of technology that district IT departments will even allow because of the compatibility or what their team is an expert in and can fix. So this week, as I said before, you're going to work within a group, and you're going to identify some technology that you would like to implement into your classroom. And so as you go forth and as you write this grant, it can either be a real grant proposal in terms of what you would like to write and actually try to solicit to get fundings for, or it can just be a completely fake proposal in which you're kind of dreaming pie in the sky in terms of what you'd like to do. So as you look at developing grants and as you're looking at technology, one of the things, one of the pitfalls that I've seen in this class is we're always in love with the new shiny object, right? We always want the new latest and greatest just because it's there. However, in education, we need to kind of reverse engineer, right? We have to look at the outcome, we have to look at the objective, we have to look at what are we really trying to achieve in our classroom to support student learning, and then where does that technology slide into it? Because often we buy the technology and then we're like, how does that now fit in? But you really should be doing the opposite. Again, think of what you want to accomplish and then how will technology leverage that. Also, as you're developing your grant, remember our goal is always to get to that critical thinking. It's really to get to that project-based learning. It's really to get to that level of socialization where students are working together. So where on the SAMR module will your technology grant fit into, and how can you ultimately leverage the technology to get there? So there's a number of resources here. Education World Tips for Successful Grant Writing. The Orange County CUE. So CUE stands for Computer Using Educators. So if you go on there, there is a grant proposal. As I said before, they do wonderful workshops, some of them free, some of them you have to pay for, but again, it's a really good organization. One caveat here is Donors Choose. Please do not use Donors Choose for this assignment. The intent is not to just go in there and do that. But my other thing about Donors Choose, again, probably a lovely organization. But if you're a teacher and you have a wish list on there, please make sure that you keep your administration informed because sometimes there are policies about accepting donations. And again, if you are requesting Chromebooks or laptops or whatever, again, please check with your site team to make sure that it is compatible and that it can be repaired over time. Okay, so here are some resources for your grant writing. Here is a Google site that will help give you some ideas for that folks have used in the past. And then you're going to do your discussion board in which you're going to reflect on the grant writing process. What are some of your concerns? Have you written one before? Was it successful, etc., etc.? And then you're going to jump into the assignment. Okay, so for the assignment, it's worth 30 points. You are within your groups. You're going to follow the grant template. So we have the grant template here, in which you're going to fill out all this information, where you're going to look at the title, the standards, and the learning outcomes again. Where does this fall within the ISCE standards? Where does this fall along in terms of the state curriculum? And then how your learning outcomes address the curriculum standards you have identified, how you're going to implement your project, what the impact is going to be. And the other thing that you're going to need to keep in mind is the replacement cost, right? Is this going to be something with 1 year, 2 year, 3 year, 4 years, 5 years? And then how will you then account for, that replacement cost? So that's just your worksheet. You're going to answer those questions, you're going to do that, and then you're actually going to jump down into the grant. So the very first and foremost thing you're going to do is you're going to create an abstract. Okay, so an abstract is very clear, it's very concise in terms of what the objective is, what you look to accomplish by writing this grant, etc., etc. And then you're going to talk about the need, the goals and objectives, and then you can go straight down through there. Okay, please make sure that you are citing within APA format. And then please make sure that you are collaboratively partnering on this. I did randomly assign the groups. The best thing I can do is to randomly assign. And we'll go from there. Okay, so a couple of resources again. The Google Sites, you have a tutorial, and then the template as well as the rubric. Okay, this is not due until week 7, so you have some time to do it. Again, I'm posting this pre-Thanksgiving break in the event some of you want to work, but it's really not due until week 7, the Sunday, which is December 12th. Okay, so jumping back up. With that, I'm going to close. So, we have our Christian message this week, which looks at Proverbs and Psalms, and it talks about, looking at our biblical history. Looking that people have been strategic planners, and so as you do this work to look at a grant, one of the main objectives is to be a strategic thinker, right? Is to look long term and to look how do we get there long term, and being very intentional about how to get there. And so with the last sentence, it is an intentional effort to seek the inspiration and guidance of the Holy Spirit in order to discern the will of God as we move into the future. So again, always forward thinking, but always be very strategic and how we get there. So with that, have a wonderful week 6, and thank you.